So the Bible is really has quite ordinary stories of life, eh? So here you have when the church only had like 12 disciples and they didn't even know it was going to be a church, somebody already had their fingers in the till and was deflecting funds from where they were supposed to go, which is to people in need, and they were redirecting the funds into their own pocket. And in that story, we hear, we get a glimpse of what I think are two stories that we continue to live with all the time. And the form of those two stories has changed, perhaps, but the underlying spiritual condition of each of them has not. The big story that we see acted out in our own culture is one of scarcity. I'm never going to have enough. I actually have to steal from the poor because I need that money myself. There is in our society today a huge story that's backed by billions of dollars in advertising and in marketing to help us and engage us in feeling like we don't have enough, like there's such scarcity, and that somehow in this large meta story, as we call it, there's this sense that something can help you to feel as if you have enough, as if you are enough. So, I know that I will feel better if I buy that car. I know that if I'm unhappy, I should go on Amazon and order something else. Because just buying things will alter the way I feel about myself and about my life. It's a huge story to make us feel like we are not enough as we are, and that we will be better when we have more. And so we have all these supplies that we need to help us so that we don't smell, so that our face doesn't wrinkle, so that the personal care items, I mean, you would think that we were like just falling totally apart, right? It's a huge narrative, and it keeps our economy going. But it also tilts the economy of the world to the west and the north because we somehow need all these things and we keep the economy going. But you know what? It hasn't made us happy. Not necessarily. And that leads us to the little story that I think we try to tell every week in church, and that has been part of the Jesus story. We are enough. We're loved. We have a God who's sending energy and spirit into us to face our days. We have so much that we can actually afford to give it to the poor. Do you see how those two stories are on a collision path? I was thinking about so I don't want to, of course, pick on Hans Christian Andersen, but Hans Christian Andersen said in his stories, just living is not enough. One must have sunshine, freedom, and a little flower. And I thought, like, you know, on the one hand, I agree with that. But just living is enough. Just being able to be present in community, to be upright, or to get around in whatever way we do, that'll allow us to see the flowers. It'll allow us to go out in the sunshine. It'll allow us to have a good drink of water, or being alive allows us to just experience those things that are free and freely given in our lives. So, I don't have a very well thought out conclusion here, but it feels to me that our spiritual story, that if we have life and community, if we have the capacity to share love, well, that's enough. If we have access to some of the basic essentials of life, that's enough. And all the rest is just kind of extra. So, our topic today was about consumerism. And you know, the thing I regret and lament about consumerism is that somehow it means that we have not come to the place of spiritually understanding that life and relationship and community, these very basic things, are what make life. And that if our hearts feel empty, and if we're dissatisfied with our lives, those are both spiritual problems, and they cannot be fixed by consumerism. We had our ESL Bible discussion on Sunday, or on Thursday, and we talked about today's sermon. And we talked about what is enough and how can we be happy with enough. Each of you will come to an answer about that. But I just want to claim that it is a spiritual question in our lives. How can we be happy with the love and the story and the purpose that comes to us from our faith? How can we let that be enough? Well, I better stop before it gets any worse. But ruminate on that, because I think that it is one of the purposes for which the church and the story of Jesus survives. Thanks for listening.